Tom, so let's see. Let me start with this reaction today. Given everything that's been happening in immigration files provincially, federally, you have the Conseil de Patronat coming out and saying, look, we better slow down on this stuff because all these changes could force, the actual concern here, could force some businesses to move production elsewhere. What do you make of this?
Well, Carl Blackburn is a really serious and respected guy. And for him to be coming out with that right now, Aaron, should be a serious source of concern to Legault, who claims to be all about the economy. So, of course, these decisions on immigration play to his base, a very ethnocentric nationalist base that just wants Quebec to be Quebecers. And the more the numbers show that we're going to continue to be a very diverse place, the more that goes against everything that Legault is trying to establish. So he's saying that he's going to start shutting down access to some of these programs. The most bizarre aspect of it is the two programs he's shutting down. So there's one that's called the Program for Quebec Experience. That's university students who are French-speaking, who are already established and settled here, who know the place, know the customs, know the mores, know our codes. He's telling them they can't become Quebecers. And at the same time, he's saying, oh, by the way, this other program that brings in skilled workers, we don't want them either. So you can just imagine, if you're, especially outside of Montreal and Quebec City, the minute you go, a lot of the manufacturing in Quebec is in areas like the Beauce, it's in areas like Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean or in the townships. The minute you're in those areas, there are temporary foreign workers. In the Mauricie region, lots of temporary foreign workers. They say they're going to change rules on that as well. He's always saying that there are too many of those, but the companies completely rely on them. They've also been bringing in skilled workers. They're being told that they can't have them. So this is pure Legault shooting himself in the foot and hurting Quebec's economy on the pretense that, of course, there are too many people coming in, which is just another way of saying we don't like foreigners. And that's been his theme since he came into office.
It's interesting. I think the story came up when we talked to Jimeni yesterday. You remember, of course, when François Legault previously had said, 65,000 immigrants would be suicide, his word, suicide for Quebec. We're bringing in, it looks like 67,000 this year. Yeah. Does this government not know what's going on?
No, they don't know what's going on. Well, actually, it's a little bit trickier than that. They absolutely know the numbers because they know the numbers are way above anything that they've talked about because the overall numbers are much larger than the simple 67,000. But what they don't want to admit is that they've been wrong all along, that the only way for Quebec to keep pace with the rest of Canada and to keep our economy going is to have people coming in from the outside with skills, the same way we built the country from day one, Aaron. But Mr. Legault doesn't like admitting that people who come from other places can help contribute. That's the best way, by the way, to keep the French language vital, because all of their kids go to French school, they learn French, they're learning French at work, but Legault doesn't see that. There's always a bogus study. There's always, we have this great concern about Montreal. The minute that was shown to be totally fake, now they started turning their attention, look at the workplace, more and more English. Yeah, because it's an international community, and the lingua franca is English, whether you like it or not. If you're dealing with somebody in the Netherlands, guess what? You better be speaking to them in English because you don't know how to speak Dutch, and they speak perfect English. I mean, that's what they don't want to admit.
So that being the case, I don't know if you saw the story today, Benoit Dubreuil, the language commissioner, right, again, coming out and saying, we're seeing that decline again, 10, some places 15% less French being spoken. And then he points to what's happening when people end up in CJEPs, of course, and they end up coming out and they're speaking apparently too much English, which seems to play to the idea again of maybe that, story, Bill 101, being introduced into CJEPs, which they've held out on. What do you think? Does this change anything?
Well, I think they're trying to build their case. I think that you're spot on. I think you've got it exactly right, Aaron. They're trying to build a case because the strongest ethno-nationalists, some of them I work with in the French media, have been beating that drum nonstop, and the Parti Québécois has been making it a thing. Why are you letting Francophone kids actually prepare themselves for the international market? I mean, all they would be doing, of course, is opening up the floodgates to Ryerson. Well, it's not even called Ryerson now anymore. It's Toronto Metropolitan. You'd have kids going over to Ontario to go to the University of Ottawa, to go to Carleton. You'd be filling up the universities on the other side of the border because they want to be mobile. And by the way, they're picking up English as a matter of just fact. You can't be online and work in the world in any way, shape, or form if you don't have English now. So instead of being like a country like the Netherlands or like Denmark or Sweden, where everybody speaks English because you're part of the world, but everybody at home and in their daily lives speaks Swedish or Danish or Dutch. We're going to be different. We're going to say that you have to speak this and you have to speak French at home and you have to speak French at work. And we're going to even make sure that in your post-secondary studies, you don't actually learn enough English so that you could ever work anywhere else.
Yeah, and of course the concern, I don't know, we talked about this originally, the concern, when the government sticks its nose into what you're speaking, what language you're speaking at home, that's a serious reason for concern.
Well, they don't just stick, you have to be in French media as often as I have to hear the whole recrimination. It's not just the fact that people speak another language amongst themselves, although I got that too. I got that on the air from a senior commentator saying, I am so insulted when I go to Carrefour Laval and I hear two people speaking English to each other.
Wow.
So this is a thing. The other thing that you get is, you bring them in here. Of course they speak French, but when they go home, they're watching TV from their home country. As if you're supposed to remember the dialogue from every episode of La Petite Vie to qualify as a true blue Quebecer. I mean, this is the madness where we're in. So Dubreuil is not a fool, but he's going to play to this game. That's why he was put there by Legault.
Just as a side note, do you think Legault sticks around for the next election?
Absolutely not. And by the way, I was right on that with Valerie Plante because I remember telling everybody she's not running in the next election. She said right up until 2 weeks before that she was running in the next election. And then she said, well, actually, fooled you. I'm not running in the next election. Who else is in that boat? Justin something. That guy, the Prime Minister of Canada. He's in the same boat. You can't say anything other than, of course I'm running, of course I'm running, of course I'm running until you decide you're not running. And when Legault doesn't run in the next election, because he will not run in the next election, then the CAQ will fall apart and we'll have a nice, classic, epic battle between the Liberals and the Parti Québécois that the Liberals will win.
Wow. Okay, despite not even having a leader yet.
Oh, but look at the number. Look, Quebec voters want to get rid of Legault. It's not even funny. The Parti Québécois has been drinking its own bathwater. They think they've already won the next election 2 years from now. If the leader who comes into the Liberals is able to settle that team down, there's some incredible talent in that caucus, but it's like a chicken with its head cut off right now. They go after private schools, then they don't go after private schools, and then they say this, and then they say the opposite. There's no coordination whatsoever, and you've got some geezers on their policy committee who threatened to quit. I would have just said, quit by all means. Just get out of here. Let us bring together some modern ideas for a modern party. What I'm most worried about is somebody deciding that they want to be on the nationalist side. They want to be the nationalist standard bearer for the Liberals. I went through that. After Mr. Bourassa passed, and they were going to show they had nationalist credentials. It doesn't work. If people want a bottle of Coke, they're going to buy Coke. They're not going to buy, Kick Cola. The real separatists are there. You can vote for them if you want to. The Liberals should be that party that controls the middle of the electorate, that talks about the economy, that does things that is open to bringing people in, but making sure that the French language is front and center in everything we do, that it's, of course, where kids get sent to school when they arrive, first and foremost. But you don't have to have laws that make it impossible for people to express their religious identity, like Bill 21. You don't target the English-speaking community of Quebec and its institutions like they've done with McGill and Concordia in particular. I don't know if you saw, but the Montreal Institute for Genocide Studies is having to shut down because of the cuts to the universities, and this is a great loss. This has an international reputation, and it's a great loss. But this is exactly the type of closing of the mind that we're going through with the CAQ. And guess what? Quebecers are not that way. Legault's that way, and he talks to the people who are similar to him, and they represent 20-something% of the population, but that's not going to be enough to get him back, and that's for sure.